And as we said on fiber, it is possible to use fiber, but it needs a little bit different device, obviously. And then this is actually like an adapter that you would plug copper in over here to RJ45, and then you've got the fiber connections over here. And so this is 100 base FX, as you saw on the table before, and this is 100 base TX over here. And so from this point on, you can go a lot further. So that's basically what you would use this device for. Let's say you're close to the source here, but the next device downstream is a mile away. That's where you would put this box in here and then just have the fiber go for the mile. And the bandwidth is the same on both ends. It's just that from the fiber point forward, from this box downstream, you can go a lot further physically, have a longer run. This is a regular router that happens to have most of its connectors being copper, RJ45s, but a few being these fiber adapter things that you can plug in that actually allow you to plug in a device that looks like that allows you to connect, adapt literally right in the router, fiber to copper, so that it allows you to then make those longer runs or higher bandwidth runs over the same distance. And then you can even extend this into the RF domain. A lot of folks use this for studio-to-studio links, studio-to-transmitter links, unlicensed radios that are used for all kinds of stuff out there. It's again like Wi-Fi, and with a point-to-point directional antenna like that, and this standard off-the-shelf Ethernet radio, you can get a good link, 150 megabits per second. Plenty for a number of audio channels of hi-fi, uncompressed. Good shot, 25 miles line of sight. So it's possible to extend, and that's still part of the LAN, remember, in this case. It's not going out into the wild world of the Ethernet. It's still your LAN being extended through a wireless path on the last mile. You can also get license service. WiMAX is a standard that's emerging now. That's the commercial name for what the IEEE calls 802.16, and you could buy that from a telco to get a really bulletproof kind of link for, again, extending your LAN to another physical location. So these can be used, as I said, for studio-to-transmitter links, for remote pickup units, from a facility, like a theater, a permanent facility, or studio-to-studio linking. So now let's talk about some of the practical applications here. Most basic thing is just an IP snake. We've got a single node to a single node with an Ethernet cable in the middle. We'll show these pictorially in a second. It's a little easier to see. Or a multi-point snake. You could have a single stage box feeding 2 or 3 control rooms, or a house mix, monitor mix, record mix, whatever, in the truck. And you just need a little bitty off-the-shelf, like Office Depot kind of switch. You buy these things literally at Office Max or Office Depot, the Ethernet switches that you can use here. It's totally, once you're in that Ethernet domain, it's the switches, the devices don't care what's going through, whether it's audio or surfing the net. It's just packets to them. You can also replace your PC sound card with one of these. And as we showed, you can use it just for a point-to-point link between distant locations through either a dedicated IP line or a dedicated IP wireless link of your own purposes, unlicensed, or from telco license, from wireless telcos. Like Sprint does a lot of business in that space in their WiMAX 4G. Now, a little more complex is when you want to use it just for a router system between legacy type consoles, and this would be something that you could see being applied in existing recording and post facilities, where you still want the big SSL console or you want the Pro Tools systems, but you want to just use this in lieu of some old school cross-point router. between rooms. And so you can just use it as a router system. Or you could just put it as a single studio, just a little LAN with a little switch, a little service system. And this would allow you to do all the advantages in just that one room. And this could be in like a home studio as well. Or the full-blown broadcast facility. And nowadays, because there's the regulations have changed about 10 or 15 years ago, you rarely find a single radio station operating by itself. Typically, they're consolidated facilities. So you'll have 5, 6, 7, 8 stations in one facility. And there's obviously economies of scale by doing that. And so that's why these have been so, these services, systems have been so popular in radio first, because they are almost always multi-studio facilities. Post houses, big ones, will have multi-studio facilities. In big cities, the mothership studios will have a lot. But a lot of the smaller audio production facilities are still just single rooms. And so not as much advantage. Some advantage, but not the multiplier effects you have from these big multi-studio facilities. And this can, again, even go into a full IP-based, if you want to have an IP-based router, and those are expensive. Typically, the only people buying those things are telcos, right? But some of these big studios, where you have 50-some studios, like the VOA built one in Hungary or Prague, I guess it was, and we got a picture of it in the book. And they use an IP router in the center. Now, this is the simple idea of how you can have a sound card replaced by just an IP network connection through a switch if you want to go to more than one place, but without the switch if you're just going to one place. Just go straight to the node in that case. This is the again, the link, same as the snake, except it's for between studios, and maybe you have a WAN type connection, a long IP service that you buy from telco, or your own Ethernet radio link, or a purchased dedicated wireless path. And again, you can put all kinds of stuff up here. You can have your entire HD radio ready signal with all the analog and digital and delayed and everything nicely at the studio, and send that all prepackaged right to the transmitter as an IP-based signal, and it gets split out and sent into the right boxes at the transmitter. And it's and you can put your phone, your VoIP phones, your other telemetry, remote controls for the transmitter, readings and so forth, and all on the same IP link, mixing data and audio and so forth, and in both directions. Very convenient, and again, pretty much off-the-shelf stuff. The standalone studio, this is where you start getting into these dedicated kinds of IP-based consoles, and then you have something like a power supply, which also may have data switching, GPIO in there. You've got the nodes to convert your legacy audio. You got a little switch, and then you have a mix engine, which is what basically the console is the control surface too, managing the IP signals there within that studio in real time. So you don't have this console controlling a mix that's taking place in a TOC or some sort of network operation control down the hall. It's actually still happening locally, which is nice and keeps the latency down. Now, a lot of times, the current generation of technology, a lot of these devices are all built into literally one physical box. There's something called, I believe, actually it calls it the power station. A familiar name, but this is something that is devised to be the switch and the power supply and the mix engine all in one box, and it's even got a node built in, so you can literally just plug right XLRs into it. And just one RJ45 comes with the control surface, so you can put this anywhere, and it's quiet, doesn't have a lot of fans and so forth, and so it's a nice little convenient system.